This is the Brave New Coin Crypto Conversation, hosted by Andy Pickering.
Hi everyone, Andy Pickering here. I'm your host and welcome to the Crypto Conversation, a Brave New Coin podcast where we talk to the people building the future in the Bitcoin, blockchain and cryptocurrency space. Hey folks, we have a new sponsor here at the Crypto Conversation. Today's episode is brought to you by Coinsbee.com, the go-to platform for spending your crypto. With the biggest selection of brands across all gift card platforms and live in over 185 countries, Coinsbee supports the most relevant local brands for your everyday needs. They support more than 200 cryptocurrencies and offer a vast product range from gift cards, game points to mobile phone top-ups. Can't find what you're looking for? No worries. Coinsbee also offers Visa and MasterCard prepaid cards. So just go to Coinsbee.com and turn your digital assets into real-world possibilities. And now it is on with the show. My guest today is Raj Brahmbhatt. Raj is the co-founder and CEO at Zeebu, a new product that brings a blockchain-based settlement platform to the telecom carrier space. Very interesting. Welcome to the show, Raj.
Hey, Andy. Thanks for having me, and thank you to everyone that's listening.
Yeah, it's a pleasure to have you here, Raj. Let's do what we do at the beginning of the show. I will invite you to please introduce yourself. I'd like to hear a little bit about your background and your story and what you've been doing in the lead up to co-founding Zeebu.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely, Andy. So the beginning of my career really started more finance focused, right? I worked as a principal at a venture fund where they also had a telco arm. And while I was doing my work, I delved into blockchain quite a bit. And I also delved into the telco operations, where I noticed that one of the biggest problems the telco industry had was settlements, right? Hence, I formulated the plan for Zeebu and tried to streamline those as much as possible.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit more about the background here then. So you mentioned that the settlement is a problem in the telecom space. So forgive me, Raj, I'm not super familiar with the telecom space, so I hope to learn a little bit today. I'm sure the listeners can learn something as well. So yeah, I mean, just explain, I guess, the problem that you're trying to solve.
Let me start by differentiating between retail operators and wholesale voice and SMS carriers, right? So where are you based, Andy?
I'm in Auckland, New Zealand.
Okay, and who's your cell phone provider?
I believe it is, I think it's Spark New Zealand.
Okay, so they would be your retail operator, right?
Yeah.
That's the customer facing bit in the telco space. So let's say you make an international call or send a text from Auckland, your provider, you make that call or SMS over to the US, let's say. Your provider wouldn't be directly interconnected with Verizon. They will need to be interconnected with a wholesale voice or SMS carrier. And then that carrier will route that voice or SMS, that call or SMS through one or two more carriers over to Verizon that are directly interconnected with Verizon. So essentially, the point is there's two types of companies. There's tier one retail facing operators, and then there's tier two and tier three wholesale voice and carriers, right? So the product we've created at Zeebu is more focused towards the tier two and tier three companies, and the the similar arms that tier one companies have, right? Because these carriers, as I mentioned, they route these calls and messages through multiple other carriers to terminate those at the end destination. So these are global transactions, right? And the global wires take anywhere up to 96 hours in emerged markets and even 16 days to a month in unemerged markets. Now, that is because, number one, um, the industry primarily runs on the dollar and the euro, and many of these companies they need to take central bank authorization to do the forex conversions, right? And that's only if they even have it available. If you think about some of the African regions, they don't have access to the US dollar, right? So at Zeebu, we've taken this 96 hours to 16-day period and minimized it down to 30 seconds to 10 minutes max on the platform for value transfer.
Wow. Yeah. Look, I'm actually just looking through your white paper now, Raj. And so in the white paper, you guys say that the telecom wholesale voice industry is obviously critical for global telecommunications, acting as a backbone that facilitates the exchange of voice, data, and messaging services between carriers and operators. However, the industry is plagued by several challenges, including inefficient processes, long remittance delays, lack of transparency, revenue loss due to currency exchange, and high costs. And all of these challenges lead to revenue loss for industry players. And I think you've just kind of explained that, but yeah, good to see it explained nicely in your white paper as well. So this is, I mean, yeah, it's a big task to take on the global telecom industry, though, Raj.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely, right. I mean, so as you mentioned, the forex costs, the wire transfer costs, these are also recurring charges that these carriers face. And on top of that, this is a low margin business. So being able to roll volume of transactions is how they can generate proper beta, right? So the idea behind Zebu is that first of all, they don't have the liquidity crunch anymore. And also by limiting on ramp and off ramp and being able to keep their running balance in stablecoin on the platform, um, the carriers will be able to do trans as needed basis without having to worry about constant uh, charges such as banking charges and forex conversions.
Right. So the idea is that Zeebu will provide a kind of like a transparent, decentralized ecosystem for voice traffic exchange and an ecosystem for buyers and sellers to exchange voice traffic directly, right?
Essentially, right? So let's say I am a carrier and you are as well. I am rendering my services over to you. We can have our own commercial arrangement that is off of the platform, which is already set. And now let's say we both go to the Zebu platform. Each one of us do the KYB, get onboarded, everything. And it's really as simple as, let's say, if I rendered you $100,000 worth of services, I generate an invoice, upload it onto the Zebu platform. I input your customer ID. It shows up on your interface. And with a one-click interaction, you can pull down $100,000 from your bank account, crypto wallet, credit card, debit card, comes to the platform, right? And as you initiate the transaction to send over to me, it instantaneously gets swapped for the Zebu token, and that value is transferred over to me. Now, it's up to me if I keep my funds in the Zebu token, if I ask for an instant swap to stablecoin, or if I want to move the value directly over to my bank account in fiat, which as of now still takes 1 to 2 days. but we are actively pursuing a digital banking license so we can actually streamline fiat on ramp and off ramp for all of our customers as well.
Okay, got it, got it. So explain then. I guess I'm looking at the Zeebu technology stack. All seems to make sense, and there's a token, of course. So it's just explain to me, Raj. I'm just who is the target audience for Zeebu? Let's start there.
The target audience as of now is telecom carriers, right? They are going to be our primary users
Got it.
for Zeebu tokens utility. But in our phase 3 planning, we are actually currently working out a product that's going to be B2C. So those retail operators I mentioned will be able to do settlements with their end customers, which is people such as me and you, for their phone bills using Zeebu token.
Right, right. So, tell us about the Zeebu token then. Has that been launched or is that yet to launch?
It has been launched, actually. We got listed on LBank about a week and a half ago.
I saw that on your Twitter earlier today, actually. So nice. Congrats for that.
Thank you. Thank you.
And so the token itself, that will drive the ecosystem forward. I can see on your website it says there's 7 businesses have been onboarded. Soft cap and 5 million USD. Is that just because very early days and just at the beginning of the Zeebu journey?
Yeah. So we've actually achieved the soft cap and the hard cap. So we've raised $25 million so far, right? And going back to our customers, we are right now partnered with Bankai Group. And Bankai Group is one of the largest telecom carrier there is, right? Probably top 5 in the world. They do about $2.1 billion in revenue. Those are just rough numbers, but about $2.1 billion in annual revenue, right? And they are one of our customers, and they all through them they're also helping us expand our user base. So as of now, we have a total wait list of 89 customers getting ready and comfortable with the platform, finishing their KYBs. Our business partner team is actually training their treasury and accounts teams as well. And as soon as they give the go ahead, their names will start popping up on the website as well.
Fantastic. And so are you looking to work with, I guess, other telecom networks around the world? And I can see you do have a list of some of those partners that you're working with already on your website. Bridge Voice, Novotel, Broadband Telecom, MGW, to name a few.
Yes, correct. So those are the ones that are already doing transactions, test transactions on our platform. And along with them, like I said, there's a list of 89 more companies whose names are going to start popping up on the website soon.
So how quickly do you think this will start to take off as all these other businesses come online?
To be entirely honest, Andy, look, I mean, so far, we on our end, we have stayed very careful. We've gone slowly as far as the platform goes, right? Because as soon as we want everything to be as streamlined as possible as soon as transactions start, right? So the platform is very, very robust. Technologically, we are set, but these are all legacy-based players, right? They haven't tried new systems. So we want to make sure that they are comfortable and ready to go. But speaking of how fast we might be going is we assume that by 2 to 3 weeks from now, the platform is going to start full volume at its capacity. And we are actually projecting to do about $1.5 billion in transactions on the platform over the next 8 to 12 months.
Yeah, fascinating. So yeah, lots going on then. Um, yeah, I mean, do you think the telecoms industry is ready for this kind of technology and this kind of marketplace and a token?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, I mean, so when I walked you through that flow of transaction, right? We are actually also providing as a customer acquisition cost, we are also providing 3.5% of each settlement value back to the users of the platform. So we have a criteria for that on what percentage you would get. But let's say you sent me $100,000 on the platform. Each one of us gets 3.3500 equivalent of Zeebu tokens on each transaction. Now, not every one of them will get 3.5%, but we have specific criteria on that. But since we are increasing their margins by almost 50% through our loyalty program, and on top of that, an additional 75% by cutting their Forex and wire costs, the carriers are incredibly intrigued to get started on the platform. Our flow of user base has been the easiest part of the whole process.
Wow. Yeah, that is interesting. And so, well, it sounds like I guess the telecom industry is always evolving, but certainly ready for some disruption as well, right, Raj?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
And how long have you been playing around in the blockchain space, Raj?
I've been in the blockchain space for about 3.5 years now. So as I mentioned, I worked at the venture fund with a telco arm as well, right? At that telco arm, it was actually one of the Bankai group companies. And there we started test transactions to kind of identify how well the industry could adopt this technology and this way of doing value transfer, right? So we started off by doing transactions up to $1 million in USDT every month, and that quickly ramped up to close to $10 million every month. So that was sort of our POC to understand the market's appetite for such a concept.
Got it. Got it. All right. Well, as we start to finish off this part of the podcast, Raj, look, just for anyone listening that wants to learn more about the Zeebu vision, especially, anyone from, I guess, a telecom carrier that perhaps is intrigued in what you guys are building, what should they do? Where should they go?
They should visit us at zeebu.com and they can reach out to us directly from there. Absolutely.
Awesome.
And as far as anyone else, as far as people that want constant daily updates, they can follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and join our Telegram and Discord groups, which are on our website.
Nice. All right. Well, I reckon we go to a quick break and then we'll come back. We'll have some fun. We'll run Raj through the very famous crypto conversation hot take round back in 1 second.
This episode is sponsored by Coinsbee, your digital pocket for spending crypto. With an extensive selection of brands available in 185 countries and supporting over 200 cryptos, Coinsbee turns your digital assets into gift cards, game points, phone top-ups, and even Visa MasterCard prepaid cards. Plus, with fast checkouts using your favorite crypto, or even speedier with Binance Pay, Coinsbee makes it simple to spend your crypto. Visit Coinsbee.com today and get honey for your crypto money.
All right, we are back and I'm with Raj Brahmbhatt. Raj is co-founder, CEO at Zeebu, bringing a blockchain-based settlement platform to the telecom carrier space, as we've learnt today. Raj, I like to finish each podcast with a quick round of rapid-fire crypto conversation hot takes. Are you up for it?
Sure, absolutely.
So I'm just going to run some questions at you, Raj. Just want kind of, quick, snappy answers. Hot take style is how we like to do it. Question one for you, Raj. Where would you say that you sit on the Bitcoin maximalist to multi-chain opportunist spectrum?
So I am more on the multi-chain side, right, Andy? Because let's take Bitcoin for an example. It's difficult for companies to primarily use Bitcoin for the utilities, right? Because let's take Zeebu as a case. As a customer acquisition cost, we're doing loyalty and rewards, and we have built an entire platform around our utility. So it makes most sense for us to create a native token that can do this, that can fulfill the utility we are trying to provide over using Bitcoin on the platform, right?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense to me, Raj. All right, well, what would you say is your firmest conviction crypto opinion?
Let's see. I would say that using utility tokens as a means of value transfer and asset tokenization for alternative securities is pretty much the future, right?
Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more, Raj. Bill Gates famously said that we tend to overestimate what we can accomplish in 2 years and underestimate what we can accomplish in 10. With that in mind, anything you like, Raj, but 10 years time, what does Zeebu look like? What does the telecom space on blockchain rails start to look like? What does Web3 look like 10 years time? What do you see?
10 years time. So, as I mentioned, Zeebu is actively pursuing our digital banking license, right? That's going to take us to a whole another level because providing settlements on the platform is just phase one. As we go to our phase two, we plan on having our banking license, or at least a banking white label, right, to provide settlement accounts to our users. Along with which we are going to deploy our layer 2 blockchain as well. And as we then move on to phase 3, we are considering having our own layer 0 chain, along with which we are also going to provide factoring services onto our platform, right? So our partner company, Bankai Group, is currently doing close to 450 million in insured receivable financing, which is factoring, which is essentially me saying, let's say I post my invoice onto the platform, and since me as a customer, I'm insured up to 95%. The factoring service can give me 95% of the invoice value right away. Because now if me and the person I rendered my services to have a 30-day payment period, I don't have to wait for 30 days on my end. Maybe I'll have to take a $5,000 loss. Instead of $100,000, I'll get $95,000. But the time value of money might exceed the value I'm paying in order to get that invoice factored, right?
Totally.
So at Zeebu, we plan on bringing that flow onto the platform, automating it entirely once we have the settlement flow going on. And we are actually projecting to do close to $600 to $700 million in insured receivable financing on our platform itself. On top of that, because we are going to provide settlement accounts that streamlines fiat on-ramp and off-ramp, as well, makes it nearly as quick as using crypto by itself. And we are planning on having our L2 or L0. We are projecting to have close to anywhere between $9 to $15 billion in settlement value on our platform over the next 5 years. Now, let's move a bit to a broader scope, which is the crypto industry, right? I really think the future is where the utility is. So this might be a bit of a hot take, but I believe that 90 to 95% of the tokens today out there are pretty much meme coins, right? Meaning that they have no underlying use case. They're purely driven through the market and no true demand, which makes them speculative in nature, number one. And it also makes its price very, very sensitive, right? Tokens such as Zeebu do have a very, very natural demand from its customer base, and I believe that's where the future really, really is.
Very well said, Raj. Thank you. I enjoyed that. All right. Well, sci-fi author William Gibson famously said that the future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. Can you think of an example of the future being here right now, Raj, but most people aren't aware of it?
So I'll go back to the example I just gave, right? As I mentioned, most tokens out there today they have no true utility and they're speculative in nature, and have sensitive pricing, which is why we've seen the recent crashes in crypto, right? Because utilities are supposed to be almost recession-proof or inflation-proof, right? To some extent, because they have natural demand. Let's say, let's take plumbing services as an example, right, Andy? Whether there's inflation or recession, do you think it would matter whether or not you use a plumber's services in case your toilet broke?
Well, yeah, if your toilet breaks, you need a plumber, regardless of how the economy is doing, right?
Exactly. So that's what I mean, right? When there's true utility, which is absolutely needed by a customer base, it almost, I'm not saying absolutely, because if 10 out of 10 people are going to use the plumbing services when they're cheap, it's at least 7 out of 10 will still use them when it's expensive, because it's a necessity in many scenarios, right? And now moving back to the crypto side, over the past couple of years, we've seen all these giant crashes, so much market wealth absolutely wiped out, right? Because most of these tokens were very much speculative in nature, and the pricing was driven through that speculation, right? But as we get more and more tokens and utilities into the market, these tokens have natural demand that's not very replaceable. Hence, when a recessionary or inflationary period comes by, the pricing for these tokens is fairly safe, right? Because there's natural demand for it.
Yep. All right. Well said again, Raj. As we start to finish off, time to get weird for a second. What do you see as the long-term future for the human race, Raj? Do you see dystopia or utopia?
You really went to the deep end of weirdness, right? That's a difficult question, right, Auntie? Because it's all about perspective. What's utopia for one person might be dystopia for another, right? I mean, you just take, let's say, let's take the United States for an example. Someone that is more liberal in nature might believe that receiving checks every month, this is just more socialist, let's say, in nature, might believe that receiving a $5,000 check monthly is all they need. They would just want to have a simple scope, and they believe that every single person in the country should have the same scope and no one should be making a lot of money. But you move over to the conservative side, where capitalism is a kind of driver, right? And where they believe that people should get compensated for how hard they work, and there should not be economic equality, in the sense where one person is working 10 hours a week and another is working 40 hours a week and they get paid the same amount of money, right? Now, let's say the socialist economy kicks in, where everyone gets a set paycheck but not everyone's doing the same amount of work. That is a utopia for the socialist person, but that might be a dystopia for the conservative person. So in my belief, it's all about perspective.
100%. Couldn't agree more. All right, let's finish this off. It brings us nicely to our final question, Raj, and we stay weird, but it is, what is your favorite science fiction book, film, or TV show?
Interstellar, by far.
Interstellar, Christopher Nolan film, of course. Yeah, great choice. It's a popular choice. Have you seen Oppenheimer yet?
No, and I would hate it if you were to spoil it for me.
No, don't worry, I'm not going to spoil it. I haven't seen it myself as yet. But yeah, all right. Well, great choice. Interstellar, shout out to Christopher Nolan. Raj, thank you so much for coming on the show. Nothing else to say really, except look, again, tell people where they should go to learn more about what you guys are building with Zeebu. And again, just, explain the vision one last time.
Sure, absolutely. As I mentioned, we're targeting a very, very key issue in the telecom market today, right? Which is settlements. Because, look, I mean, it's not just the banking charges and the Forex costs that these guys are having difficulty with. It's also the settlement delays. And especially for the T2 and T3s that don't have as much liquidity, the tier 1 and tier 2 companies that don't have as much liquidity, it's really, really important for them to not go into a liquidity crunch period, right? Because then they cannot keep rotating volume and traffic of voice and SMS transactions, right? So at Zeebu, like I said, we're bringing that 96-hour to 16 days to a month period down to 30 seconds to 10 minutes at a maximum for all transactions. On top of which, we are actively pursuing our banking white labels or digital banking licenses, and we also plan on rolling out our own chain along with our own factoring service. So our scope as of now for settlements is and projections really on the platform. We're looking at about $1.5 billion in settlements on the platform over the next 8 to 12 months, and close to even 9 to 15 billion over the next 5 years.
Very nice. Thank you for that, Raj. Thank you for coming on the show. All the best, and bye for now.
Thanks, Andy. Thanks everyone for listening.
All right, there you go. That was Raj from Zeebu. Yeah, interesting, fascinating. I liked Raj. He was good. I felt, it took me a while to get into the groove on this podcast. I guess I'm just not super familiar with, telecom networks and how it all worked. So apologies for that. But I think Raj did a good job of explaining exactly what him and the team are doing at Zeebu. Looks very ambitious, looks very intriguing. As Raj said, to learn more, just go to zeebu.com. Link, of course, is in the show notes. Hey, thanks for listening to another episode, team. We reached the end of another episode. Please do make sure you are subscribed to the Crypto Conversation in whatever podcast app you are using. But that is it for today. Bye for now. This was the Crypto Conversation for Brave New